You are not pro-competition, you are anti-capitalist.
Hi, Brant Cooper here. I'm fortunate I get to travel around the world speaking with startup founders, investors, ecosystem developers. I've learned a lot in my travels. I've got some stories, and I have some thinking that I love to share. Welcome to Brant's Rant.
This argument that the government is inherently inept and that corporations, especially tech corporations, are inherently efficient and inherently smart is, complete BS. It totally ignores the fact that all of this technology was originally funded by the government. Yep, libertarians, it was not the visionary entrepreneurs, nor was it, Paul Graham and Draper and all of these self-flagellating venture capitalists that led to the revolution. The big technology revolution happened because of government funding, government subsidies, government making markets, government acting as a customer. That's what starts it. And it's what starts all big technology revolutions. If you look at people that are inside, like if you look at the real bureaucrats inside of places like the FDA that takes care of the safety of your food, and you look at transportation and commerce and these people whose whole careers are dedicated to improving things. There's a ton of smart people, and they actually move back and forth often, at least in the middle tiers, from universities and from research. And so these are smart people that are there. It's not just a bunch of button pushers, right? So people should actually look at bureaucrats in a way similar to the way they look at soldiers in the military. These people are actually serving the country. Are all of them perfect? No. Are all of the jobs that they're given perfect? No. And that's actually where we should be looking at both of those endeavors, right? But the people themselves are, I think, by and large, the same as people that are locked inside of corporations. They want to live meaningful lives. They want to contribute to society. And so, again, sort of these blanket statements about that they don't lack the intelligence to manage and regulate tech it's just wrong. It's just dumb, and we should stop it. The fact of the matter is that capitalism is founded on competition. Competition is a core element of capitalism. If you look at the very foundations of capitalism, go read, quotes from The Wealth of Nation by Adam Smith. He's adamant that capitalism is dependent upon competition. And the very basics of capitalism is a mathematical model. And in the example used often back in the 1700s was agriculture. And the reason why was because there was essentially an infinite supply, family farmers, of agricultural products, and an infinite demand for that because people need to eat. And when you've got infinite supply and infinite demand and sort of this perfect level of information as well, so in other words, the consumers know what the prices are, and they know that there's this infinite supply, and it's easy to come to the marketplace, so the market exists and is accessible. Then what happens is that there's the price settles where the farmer gets zero profit. So in perfectly free markets, the profit is zero. And really, that was the rise of a lot of agricultural subsidies, was because the farmers couldn't make a living. They couldn't themselves eat with zero profit. And so some of the subsidies would come in order so that there would be a margin that would be created so that farmers could survive. But so clearly, being at a place of zero profit is not great either. And so then in those such situations, it's really that the consumer has too much power. And then you look at the flip side of that, which is a monopoly or an oligopoly, where very few entities own all of the market, and the consumer lacks choice. And when the consumer lacks choice, they're the ones that are in less power. And what happens also is that when there's these fewer employers, the balance of power from the worker is also way out of whack, and that's why you see in the heydays of capitalism in the middle of the 20th century, a lot of legislation that would come up that would be protecting the environment and protecting the air and protecting labor rights and the rights of labor to organize. And that was in order to shift some of the balance back to the worker, that would create a more stable system where the tensions between those entities, the worker, the owner, and the consumer, you establish a stable system based upon the tension between the needs and desires of those each group, and that results in profits. There's a profit margin there because you're not in a perfect market anymore. So we're out of whack right now, right? I mean, now we're crazy out of whack, and you can look at any measure of of power between corporates and consumers and corporates and workers, and we're way out of whack. All of the wealth is flowing to the owners, and it's creating a lot of the turmoil that's in the world right now, and it's creating a lot of the anger that you see on the right and the left, though. Uh, some of that is also the systemic um, blocking out of whole constituencies like Black people from being in the market at all, right? So that systemic is the, that systemic racism is way more of a righteous anger to me than some of the other. But I do think that there is a case there for the white middle class being left out in the cold is not going to be good for any of the political parties, nor is it going to be good for the stability of the country. So I think it's the development, again, that we're getting back to taking on some of this corporate power. It's fundamentally known. We already know that when you get into oligopolies, companies stop innovating because they don't need to innovate anymore. And so I think what we've really seen over the last 50 years is this acceleration towards, this primary execution, driving efficiency mode out of these big corporations, and they don't look to try to create value for customers. They're not caring about their employees like they should. They don't care about the planet like they should. But even that aside, they're fundamentally driving efficiency, squeezing the blood out of the turnip. They don't know how to innovate anymore. They don't know how to create value for customers. And it's almost a mode of desperation now for a lot of companies over in this execution mode. Why is it desperation? It seems like they're doing good being all out of whack, but it's not. It's not. They're sort of reorganizing and doing acquisitions in order to hide the fact that they don't know how to create value anymore. And we're going to see is tons of these companies failing, and I think that ends up, again, it just increases that middle class turmoil, and so that's really why we need to take the bull by the horns, and really the nature has to do with my next book, Disruption for All, is how do we actually fix the corporations so that they get to seek fair profit. And they do that by producing value for customers. And in turn, they need to follow the law of capitalism, which includes the antitrust laws.
Hey, thanks for listening to Brandt's Rant. If we're choosing capitalism here as a society, then let's make it work for a better world. If you'd like to join me as we redefine capitalism for the 21st century, go to beatcoop.co/D4A. Also, if you have a pressing issue that you're facing in your innovation group, your product group, your startup, and want to join me on video, see the link below. Subscribe, like, see you next time.